Hey everyone, Jerry Miculek here, and this is a video I've been wanting to do for a long time. It's the don't do video. I've been in the firearms industry now as a professional for 30 years, and before that I read every gun magazine, listened to everything, read a lot of books on shooting and shooting accidents and what can happen if you mishandle a firearm. So I'm going to show you what I have here today are some extremely proven platforms that have been used for many years. And I'm going to show you what to do with it correctly and what never to do with them. So we'll start with the concept of I'm on my private range here. I have no live ammunition on the table. So what I want to show you guys is M1 Garand. I mean, they've made millions of these things, but extremely battle proven. Something you never want to do with a firearm like this is to put it around in the chamber and drop the bolt. And I'll give you an idea of what that means to you as a user. So we got a flag in all the guns. Once again, no live ammunition here. All right, so what I have here assembled, of course I have 7 dummies, completely empty, and I have a totally inert 30 caliber round on top with a commercial grade primer. And what you want to realize, most military guns are manufactured in the aspect of they're manufactured to use a military grade primer. And a lot of commercial grade primers could be a little bit softer. And if you have bad reloading habits and you make the primer a little bit proud, which means it's not fully seated, you could get into problems. So extremely proven platform, no live ammunition. So what I want you to do is to just listen on how fast the bolt goes in the battery working off of a fully loaded clip. And what you want to realize when you load a firearm like this, that bolt has to strip this round off of the in-block magazine clip, or whatever you want to call it, chamber the round, so it takes a lot of energy out of the spring versus just dropping the bolt with nothing in the way. So, okay, we're going to go ahead and load it. We're on safe, no live ammo. Load the mag and let it go. So just listen how fast the bolt closes, and we'll take a look at the cartridge itself. Matter of fact, I had to bump start it, give you an idea how much spring pressure it takes to chamber that round off of a fully loaded clip. All right, so we're going to go ahead and unload it, bring it to the rear, drop it out, and what I want you to do is come over here and take a look at the primer and see if anything actually touched the primer. You notice there's a little bit of a mark on the primer. Even though we stripped it off the loading in-block clip, it still touched the primer. Okay, so we're going to do it. This is something you never want to do with a firearm like this. And that is to drop it in the chamber and then slingshot it. I call it slingshotting the bolt closed. Now you notice it's going to close a whole lot faster. And I'm not even sure if it's going to detonate it or not. So I'm going to put my hearing protection on and see what happens. I'm going to try to slam it with as much force as I can. All right, didn't go off. That's cool. Let's take a look at the cartridge here. Let's go ahead and close it up on an empty chamber. Let's take a look at it. And it hit it again a little bit harder. So, not a good thing, guys. Never want to slingshot it. You can see the indent on the primer. All right, M1 Garand, we made it without a detonation. I'm pretty proud of that. I never recommend that you ever drop around in a chamber on a firearm like that and drop the bolt. Moving on, we got a M1A, guys, great rifle. Again, almost the same system as the M1 Garand, probably an enhanced system. It has a roller block on the bolt assembly. And you notice, without a magazine in it, this one has a lot of spring pressure. So, we've got the same thing here. We've got a 30 caliber round, totally inert. No powder, just the bullet and the primer. And this is a standard commercial grade primer, not a military spec primer. So, we're going to go ahead and top it off. We've got a couple of empty brass in the magazine, and we're going to just run the bolt with the spring pressure of all the cartridges holding the bolt back to some degree on the velocity that it chambers the round. So we're going to go ahead and unload it now and take a look at the primer. There's just the slightest mark. Okay. Now we're going to slingshot it closed, which I never ever recommend you ever do. with any firearm like this type. We're going to drop it in there. Oop. Let me do that again. Okay, we're going to drop it in there, and we're going to slingshot it. It's going to fire its on safe. Let's take a look at the primer, see what it did. All right, just touched it a little bit, which is really cool. I have heard of detonations that way, and what happens is there's so much energy in that bolt when you slingshot it. If the primer's not right and everything's not right, it'll cook off and it'll blow the bolt out of the gun. If you look at it in the aspect of how the whole system is designed, it's a whole system. The ammunition is also designed to function with the firearm. So when you change anything in the system, you have a fault already built in. So, all right, let's go to the SKS carbine, another totally proven package. We'll let it go without a magazine in it, get you an idea how hard it closes. A lot of spring pressure there. What you want to realize on this firearm system, the firing pin is basically floats in the bolt. So the hardness of the primer is what keeps it from firing. If you look at a fired case here, you notice how large the firing pin is. The frontal area is large in the aspect of it acts as a safety, so you don't get a slam fire. So I've got a commercial grade cartridge here in 7.62 by 39, and we're going to drop it in the chamber, and we're going to slingshot it and see what the primer looks like. I've heard of these things cooking off doing it this way, so I'm going to see what happens. Messed it up. Let me do it again. I would get my ears on. All right, let's try that again. All right, here we go. That don't even sound good. Take a look at that, guys. Look how hard it impacted that primer. That's why you never want to drop a bolt without it stripping around off a magazine. It does a couple of things. These are not controlled round fed firearms, so every time you do that, that extractor has to come around the rim and grab it. You're also hurting the bolt assembly by that excessive force of engaging that cartridge when it's fully at rest, and the extractor has to jump over the rim. And you can see by the cartridge there, the cartridge is also exposed to a lot of trauma. So you want to try never to do that. So that's 3. Now let's look at everybody's favorite, of course, 1911 style pistol. And it's a controlled round feed, and it's different than all 3 of these platforms in the aspect of when it strips a round out of the magazine, it comes under the extractor as the slide is going forward. These are push feed guns, totally different concept. So what I have to show you today is a couple of dummy rounds. There's no primer, no powder. So just got 2 of them, nothing in the mag, nothing in the chamber. But what I want to show you just in slow motion as I can, if you watch the cartridge itself, when the slide goes forward, you see that the cartridge comes up under the extractor during the feed cycle. So what you never want to do with a 1911, especially the standard 1911 with an internal extractor, is to drop around in the chamber like this and just drop the slide. So what happens here is that cartridge is fully chambered and that slide is running home full speed, and that extractor comes in contact with that rim and it has to bounce completely out of the way and then return into the extraction position. So you're brutalizing the extractor. Internal extractor guns like the original Colt design are relatively fragile, so when you do that you induce a lot of problems. You just hurt your extractor. A lot of times you tweak it, it'll come out of set, it'll start trapping cases. One thing I do like a lot is the external. You hear it hitting? It has to bump over it. This is an external extractor, which is really good. If I was to buy a 1911, I would want an external extractor. But that's just me. So give you an idea, guys, of what's going on here with the 4 different guns and what can happen if you mishandle them. So there you have it, guys. Always be safe on the range. Get some.